We are very excited to have Dr. Jacky with us, who's going to be taking a masterclass and Dr. Jacky is a very distinguished lecturer in the School of Information Systems and Technology Management in the University of New South Wales in Australia. He has done his PhD in and PhD in marketing, and he has several research interests, including business analytics, applied and digital marketing. So we are very happy that Dr. Jacky is here with us today. He's going to do a topic in Introduction to Business Analytics, and he will also be talking about some general background analytics and the framework to contextualize business analytics in an organizational setting, including big data assets, type of analytics, and value creation by BA. So that's one of the, I'm sure a lot of you are interested in analytics, and there could not be a better time and a better person to be talking to us about business analytics. So over to you, Dr. Jacky, and welcome everyone once again. Thank you to our audience. For just a couple of things, if you have any questions for Dr. Jacky, please type them right here on the chat. Dr. Jacky is going to be presenting for 30 to 40 minutes, and then he will be taking your questions. So please feel free to type in your questions in the chat. Okay, so over to you, Dr. Jacky.
Okay, thank you, Romela, for the very warm introduction. Hello, everybody. Hello from Sydney. And first of all, thank you for having me for this fantastic event. And happy to get involved and to share my view and knowledge, understanding on business analytics. As Romela introduced, I'm currently a lecturer at the School of Information Systems and Technology Management at UNSW Business School. So I'm teaching a course, a string of business analytics courses, including Introduction to Business Analytics, Business Analytics Methods, and Social Media Analytics. I had my PhD in marketing with a specialization in marketing analytics, has been applying a range of analytics techniques in my own research projects, range from some descriptive analytic methods such as some data visualization, summary reports, to linear regression, logistic regression, to more advanced modeling techniques. And analytics has been playing an increasingly important role in today's business world that is becoming more data-driven. So hopefully this very brief talk, will help you to gain a better or more structured understanding about analytics. I'm also going to apply a framework to contextualize analytics in an organizational setting to identify some key concepts, important concepts that might help you to better understand this business analytics from a general perspective. So without further ado, I'm going to share a slide, okay? And if there's any questions, feel free to feed that through the chat box, and I'll attend to your question when I finish my presentation, okay? Just a second. Trying to identify my... Oh, for some reason I can't see my presentation slides. Strange. Sorry guys, for some reason I can't see my presentation slides. I tested it yesterday. Okay, now it's there. Okay. All right, I hope everyone can see the presentation slides. Is everybody able to see the slides? Yep, thanks for the information, guys. All right, so today I'm going to talk a brief topic on Introduction to Business Analytics. So most recent article, some of you might have seen this article, this quote somewhere in The Economist, a prestigious economic journal, says in the 21st century, the most valuable resource is no longer oil, but data. Okay, However, data by itself is just some interesting facts or numbers and has very limited value, if any, to organization or company. It is the insights, the knowledge, the intelligence that embedded in the data that has tremendous value to a company or organization. But in order to derive or to pull those insights out of data, we need analytics. And that explains why the analytics related techniques are among the top 10 most sought after skill across the global job market based on recent market survey. As you can see, the techniques on data presentation, the communication, as well as data statistic, data mining skills are among the top 10 most demanded skills. So you might heard about this term business analytics every now and then, and at various occasions. Sometimes the business analytics or data analytics might be associated with some buzzwords such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, or big data. But what exactly does that mean? What exactly is business analytics, right? So if you do a simple Google search, you might be able to come up with 20 plus or 30 plus definitions, right? Every definitions might focus on different perspective of business analytics. But here, also in the course that I'm teaching, I'm adopting this definition that is proposed by Professor Davenport and Harris, right? So Davenport is one of the guru in business analytics and used to teach at Harvard Business School. So business analytics essentially is the extensive use of data, statistical and quantitative analysis, exploratory and predictive models, and fact-based management to drive decisions and actions. All right. So if we can, at a very fundamental level, we can break this definition into 3 Ds. Okay, which is essence of this definition. That is data drive decisions. All right. So that's the key. That's the essence of definition. We use data to drive decisions. So to help you better understand this concept in the business environment, all right, so we're going to use this framework to contextualize business analytics and to highlight some important concepts or constructs within this ecosystem of business analytics. Obviously, this whole framework centered on a key concept, which is which is value creation, right? Without value creation, as I mentioned before, data by itself, just some interesting facts or numbers, maybe statistics, which has a very, very limited value, right, to business or organizations. It is value that created, okay, that embedded by the data that has tremendous benefits to the company or organization, right? But as I mentioned before, the definition, data drive decision. So let's start from the data, which is on the left-hand side of the framework, right? If you look at the top left corner, data may come in from different sources. So broadly speaking, data may come in from internal database. For example, say Walmart, or in the context of Australia, we have a major, large supermarket called Coles, Woolworths. Some of you might have heard about those 2 major supermarkets. So each of those supermarkets, they have their own customer database, right? So that will form one of the key resources where they can source their data from. Then you have external data sources, right? So such as a third-party data service companies, could be a marketing research company or management consulting company. Those companies would provide external data to help a company achieve their business objectives. Then you have open sources, data coming from open sources. In the context of Australia, we have Australian Bureau of Statistics, right? So there's the census data. Obviously, I think in India, I also have the government body which look up the census data. So obviously, the census data are publicly available, and you can have free access to those data, right? So those are sources where a company or business can source the data from. And on the bottom, there are generators for data. Okay, data can be generated across different platforms or different devices, right? We know Internet of Things, right? So data might be captured by different sensors, right? So those are one important generator for data. We also are quite familiar with social medias, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right? We are using those social media platforms on a daily basis. So those different digital platforms, social media platforms, are also a major contributor for the data. Then we have ubiquitous computing, right? Ubiquitous computing are basically capturing the data that generated from interaction between the machines, right? We talk about, for example, smart homes, where we might have a home temperature monitor communicated to fridge monitor, right? The smart fridge to monitoring the temperature of the fridge. So those data communicated between machine to machine is an example of the ubiquitous computing. So though all those generators, all those devices might contribute contribute to the build up of big data assets for a company or organization, right? So down the bottom, we see there's, because the unique feature of big data, in the later slides, we'll touch on the 4 unique attributes of feature big data, right? Because of the unique feature of big data, it requires a different set of skills, infrastructure to be able to manage, process, or analyze them, right? We are all familiar with the cloud computing technologies, AWS or Google Clouds, right? So those are the clouding technology that were developed in order to manage or store data, right? You might have also heard about some big data technologies such as Hadoop or Spark. Okay, so those platforms, those infrastructure were built to deliberately process and manage and store big data due to the volume of the data they need to handle and also the complexity in the nature of the big data, right? Then also there's one important area or concept when it comes to big data management is about data quality, right? So such as whether your data are being accurately recorded, right? Or your data is completed, or the missing data or the duplicates, right? So those or data are compatible, because data might be recorded in different formats, in different spreadsheet, different forms. So how compatible are they? When you merge data together, okay, so can those data speaking to each other? Okay, so those are the issues my concern the big data management. Obviously, the data asset potentially has tremendous value, right, to a business, because it can provide insight to help decision makers make a smarter or better decision. However, in order to put those insights out of big data asset, we need to apply a range of analytics skills or techniques, right? So broadly speaking, analytics can be divided or grouped into 3 categories. We have descriptive analytics, or some of you might have heard about those 3 types of analytics. We have predictive analytics, we have prescriptive analytics, right? So by applying the 3 types of analytics, obviously depending on what objective you're trying to achieve, right? You will be able to derive some actionable insights, right? Which ultimately help you make better decisions. And again, so the whole framework is centered around value creation. So you may use this insight to make better business decisions in regard to, for example, better segment the markets, or identify some potential markets that have been overlooked by your business model. Or you could use analytics, okay, those insights to help you with research and development, R&D, or come out with some new concept of products, or even can help you with, say, supply chain management, okay, to reduce operational costs. So those are different areas that analytics can contribute value to a business or a company, right? So with that, if we zoom in a little bit further on each of those important concepts, right? So if you look at big data assets, so the big data essentially are differentiated from a traditional form of data on 4 important aspects, right? So the first unique or important attribute about big data is the volume, right? When your company are collecting data, increasing the amount of data from different sources, from different platforms, right? While the large amount of data potentially has tremendous value to a company, but also it presents a challenge to the company in terms of management and the process. The second unique feature for big data is the velocity, right? Velocity basically means the speed or the frequency at which the data has been generated, and then that needs to be captured, it needs to be analyzed in order to prevent the real-time, immediate insight to help decision makers make immediate decisions. If we talk about, for example, the text message that has been sent, the Facebook status that has been updated, or your swipe card information, say, that has been sent to different servers every second, every minute, or every hour, every day, you will have appreciation about the velocity of the big data. But to be able to capture this benefits of the velocity, it also requires a special technology platform, as well as the people that have the right set of skills to be able to leverage on those resources, this important aspect of big data. Then the third unique feature of big data is the variety, right? Traditionally, we only need to deal with the structured data. Okay, structured data basically are numerical data or quantitative data that are stored in a relational table, the traditional spreadsheet, right? Like Excel, we're all quite familiar with. So with that, the traditional type of data, we knew that the methods to analyzing traditional or structured data are quite established, right? But with the development of big data, the increasing amount of unstructured data now become valuable for analysis. The data that are existed in the form of, say, text, pictures, voices, even videos. Obviously, there's unstructured data would require different technologies, as well as different skills to be able to analyze it or to derive value out of them. The last unique feature about big data is the veracity. Right? The veracity basically deals with the trustworthiness or the quality of the data, right? So because data, as we saw before, can come in from different sources, right? So how trustworthy is the data source, right? The source that you are sourcing the data from. Are those data being accurately recorded, captured, or there is some fake data, right? And also they're dealing with the issue about representative of the data, right? So if you have data, say, from one city, only the example I was giving here in Australia, so if you have data collected in Sydney, right? You run analysis, you get some insights, get some findings, but how applicable can those insights be applied to the consumer market, say in Melbourne, in Adelaide, or in Perth, right? So those are issues that concern the veracity of big data. And also companies need to be aware of those four important features when it comes to data analytics. And then on the top, if you remember in the framework, we talk about 3 types of analytics, but there might be different typologies if you do a Google search. Some typology suggest there are 4 types of analytics. And in the following slides, we'll take a look. We're looking at the 4th type of analytics. So essentially, for the first, most fundamental level of analytics, which sits at the bottom of this graph, as you can see here, is descriptive analytics, right? As you're moving up the arrow, the sophistication of the analytics increases. For the descriptive analytics, basically deal with or answers questions such as what happened, right? So it offers insight into the past, right? So then if we take a step further to the predictive analytics, okay, which uses data from the past to make prediction about the future. Okay, so if this has happened, so how likely this will happen again in the future, so that you can use predictive analytics to make predictions, so that you can have the first move advantage from the company's perspective, right? And then the most sophisticated level of analytics is called prescriptive analytics, right? Basically, that helps you to answer questions such as how can the best be realized. So the ultimate goal with prescriptive analytics is trying to optimize the return on investment, right? So how can you optimize the outcome given the input resources that I have? That's basically is a prescriptive analytics that a company can use to maximize the return on investments. So if you put in those three types of analytics into the context of marketing, okay, each can answer different questions. For example, we can apply descriptive analytics to answer questions such as which customers are most profitable, right? Customer most profitable. So obviously you can run the descriptive analytics, just simply view the the spending patterns of a customer over say last quarter. Then you can easily identify which customer is the most profitable customers, right? That provides you with descriptive overview of the spending pattern, right, or the revenue that has contributed by a particular customer. Then for predictive analytics, right, one very important concept in marketing is called customer churn. Customer churn basically means when customers abandon a company, right? So it's very important for customers to understand this issue because a lot of study has been shown it costs the company a lot of money to acquire new customer than retain an existing customer, right? So that's why company has been spending a lot of money to come up with different types of loyalty programs, because the ultimate goal with those relationship management programs is that they want to keep you stay, because it costs them much more money if they're going out to acquire new customer, right? So that's why the predictive analytics has been applied quite widely across companies to identify which customer has a high chance to abandon. If you identify customers are likely to leave, then they will start apply some intervention mechanisms, either to say, for example, offer some additional benefits or upgrade of their membership status, try to keep them stay, right? Then the last type, the most sophisticated type, is prescriptive analytics. So in the context marketing, so say if you identified which customer is going to leave the company, is going to abandon the company, then we can apply prescriptive analytics to identify the most effective action or most effective intervention strategy that would stop the customer from leaving us, right? So as you can see, different types of analytics can help the company answer different questions or to achieve different objectives. And as I mentioned before, if you do Google search, you might also arrive at a different typology for analytics. For example, you might also come across this typology for analytics, which proposing that the fourth type of analytics, which is diagnostic analytics, right? This diagnostic analytics were grouped into descriptive analytics in the previous typology. Essentially, with the diagnostic analytics, it helps the company to identify why that has happened, right? So if we to run a descriptive analytics, we can identify, okay, the company has one customer, say who are the most profitable customer, but we don't know why the customer has been spending so much money or having so much money on buying our products, right? But in order to understand why that has happened, we can apply diagnostic analytics to understand the driving forces behind the spending pattern, all right? So one of the common methods for conducting diagnostic analytics is called experimental design. Okay, by using experimental design, basically we can manipulate different conditions to identify the causal relationship, we call cause effect, whether A cause B, right? Rather than just simply identify the association between two variables or between two phenomena. So these are the typology for analytics, the two typologies for analytics. Excuse me. And if we look into a little bit more detail into each type of analytics, for descriptive analytics, as I mentioned before, it's most conventional and simplest form of data analytics. But this does not mean it's not important, right? And nowadays, a lot of companies are still performing, at the very beginning, or very fundamental level, they still perform a lot of descriptive analytics. For example, companies can use descriptive analytics to monitor the salesperson's performance, right, over the month, right? So basically, that provides a summary view of, say, for example, salesperson performance over time. And then, but the problem with descriptive analytics, that only tells you what has happened, right? But does not tell you whether that will happen again or what should manager do, okay, to resolve that problem. So if a company identifies salesperson A as the performance has been decreasing over the last quarter, right? But this descriptive analytics wouldn't be able to tell them what they should do in order to reverse that trend. So they will need to perform some additional analysis, such as diagnostic analytics, to identify why the salesperson's performance has been decreased over time. By understand why, then they can take some actions in order to resolve that issue, okay, to solve that problem. And there's some of the examples down the bottom. For example, the descriptive analytics has been used quite often to summarize the sales, say, performance across the regions, okay, or also understand the success, evaluate the success of marketing campaigns, right? And then in the social media context, descriptive analytics can help understand whether a particular post is popular, right? So, or whether a tweet has been welcomed by your followers, right? So that's a descriptive analytics. And a simple example on the left-hand side, we see that the traditional or standard spreadsheet, which organized information according to rows and columns. On each of the column, we record a unique variable. Okay, then, but as you can tell, basically with the raw data set, it might be difficult for you to tell which car color are the most favorite color, right? But if you apply descriptive analytics to apply a chart to represent the information from the raw data set, you can easily tell which car color most preferred by the customers, right? So this is a simple example for descriptive analytics. So for predictive analytics, right, as I talked about before, it uses information from the past, from the history, to predict the trends and behavior patterns, right? There are a bunch of techniques that can be used to make prediction. We call about predictive modeling, or one of the very simple example. Maybe most of you are quite familiar with is a linear regression, right? Linear regression is a simple technique that we can use to make some general prediction, or you can use logistic regression, or you can even, to apply some advanced modeling skills to make prediction by applying the machine learning techniques. So in the marketing context, we talk about customer churn, right? So companies are very much concerned about customer churn. So they are investing a lot of resources, a lot of money trying to build a model that will allow them or enable them to accurately predict which customers are likely to abandon, so that they can take some action against it, right? So those are the things. Also, the marketing campaigns obviously want to identify which customers are most likely to buy the products, so that they can spend their money more accurately, by targeting those specific customers more accurately, rather than spending the money across the board, right? Which potentially leads to the suboptimal return on the investments. And a real world example, okay, Uber. We only know what Uber does, right? So Uber has been a big user, a heavy user of analytics to support their business model. They've been applying analytics for years to build a model in predicting where the customer are likely to go, or the potential destination for the customers. So the model itself are pretty straightforward. They basically use factors such as the user's history, users history, and also they use information from other users' past behavior, as well as the popularity of a specific space. Then they mathematically blend those three key factors with some other factors and parameters, so to make predictions about where the customer or passengers are likely to travel to, right? So apparently the model has been quite reasonably accurate. As you can see, their prediction accuracy rate is about 74%, which is pretty okay, right? Obviously, and they are continuously trained the model, improving the model when the new data comes in. So they might add in new factors, or taking out some irrelevant factors, or tweak the parameters in order to increase the accuracy of the prediction. And the last, or the most sophisticated analytics type, is called prescriptive analytics, right? So the ultimate goal with the prescriptive analytics is trying to maximize return on investment, right? In order for company or organization to achieve the optimum outcome, right? So basically, if for a company, say if they want to go to launch a marketing campaign, right, they need to decide or they need to understand, determine what prices they should be offered to the customers and how long they should offer the price for, right, in order to maximize return on investment. The example that I often use in my class is is a sales season, right? In the sales season, where you might notice that your personal experience, some of the brands, or different brands will adopt different discounting rates, right? Some brands start with 20% off, then say in the first month into sales season, they start with 20% off discount. Then after 1 month, they reduce the increased discount percentage to 30%, then 40%, 50%, right? Some of you might wonder why they're doing this. There is a reason why they're doing this, because they're those decisions are assisted with analytics to understand how long they should hold before they offer additional discounts, so that they can maximize return, okay, maximize revenue profit, right, over this stock of goods during that sales season. Obviously, company, they don't want to reduce their discount too much, such that might hurt the profitability, right? They want to reduce the discount to attract more customers to buy their products to the extent that is not going to hurt the profit, right? So they need to find a very fine balance. So with the help of analytics, and prescriptive analytics in particular, it will help company to find the fine balance in order to maximize, to achieve the optimum outcome, right? So a great industry or area that has great potential for prescriptive analytics is healthcare, right? So healthcare, I mean, has been throwing a lot of money into the prescriptive analytics research and study. So basically, those healthcare providers, they're being leveraged on data that coming from, say, patients' health records, hospital records, health trends, then patients' demographic information, psychosocial graphic, right? So a bunch of information, a bunch of data storing together, then trying to apply analytics, trying to understand or come out with the most affordable health solutions to help people, help consumers solve the health-related problems. So this is how the benefits with this prescriptive analytics. Overall, it helped to improve the whole healthcare system, to make it more efficient, and also by, for example, reducing the readmission rates, right? Obviously, that overall could save the whole industry or hospital millions of dollars on a yearly basis, right? And a lot of money and governments and organizations has been thrown into the analytics in the healthcare industry. I think it pretty much, that's the case in Australia. I think in India also, the government and other organizations probably has been spending a lot of money, investing a lot of money in healthcare, right? Try to leverage, maximize, realize the full value of analytics. And I'm probably won't have much time to play this video. I have a short video. Actually, I'm not quite sure if I can play the video here. So a short video kind of gives you a quick summary, overview on the differences between the different types of analytics. But I might just skip the video here and go to the next slides. And so there, with analytics, application of the analytics we talked about before is tremendous, right? So it can be potentially applied to different areas within the business, within a company, and across different departments. It can be some of those core areas that business analytics has been applied quite widely at the moment, including in marketing department, marketing, sales, HR, okay, human resource management, finance, accounting, as well as procurement analytics or management, right? So for marketing analytics, we used a lot of example before already. For example, a company are building model to predict the customer chain, right? To identify the customer that has a higher chance of abandoning their services or their products. And also the analytics in the marketing context can help a company to further segment the markets, okay, so that the company can identify some opportunities that has been overlooked by the previous practices, business practices. Then in the HR, human resource management context, analytics has also been used widely to say in the recruitment process, right? Companies are using analytics to help them predict how likely a particular candidate is going to succeed in a particular role, right? Given, say, his past working experience and his, academic records, they're going to make a prediction, like in helping the HR manager in making their hiring decisions, and also has been using HR to come out or develop better training programs, right, to monitor the employees' performance and to offer the catered trainings that might help a particular employee to improve their work performance. In the finance, obviously has been widely applied analytics to help with payroll systems or come out with incentive or salary schemes, right? If we're from a broader perspective in the finance and banking industry, analytics also has been applied quite widely. For example, to identify some insurance fraud, right? Analytics obviously has been applied very extensively, and also to predict to score the credit for the non-borrowers. Okay, so to help this non-managers decide whether they should lend the loan to a particular borrower based on the past borrowing experience records, or the salary level, the job occupations, etc. And then in procurement management, obviously that's more dealing with the supply chain management. That has been a great area for the application of analytics. And to obviously from a company's perspective, they want to minimize the operational costs associated with supply chain management, and to make sure that products are delivered at the right time with the right amount to the right business areas, right? So to improve the overall efficiency of the whole process. And there's some examples. Telstra, just give you a bit of background, is one of the largest telecommunication company in Australia. They've been applied analytics for years in managing the relationship with customers to make prediction about customer churn, so that they can make sure, right, their customer engaged in a conversation if they predict or they sense one customer is likely to switch to their competitors, right, such as Optus or Vodafone, right, in the Australian market. Then Coles and Woolworths, the two largest supermarket chain in Australia, they've also been leveraged on data as well as analytics to expanding their business model from the traditional retailer to financial sectors. Now they're competing with the big banks or financial institutions in offering financial products to consumers, such as insurance policies as well as the personal and home loans. So we see that those are the values that actually help some of the businesses actually transform the business model, to expand the business model, right? It also allows them to leverage or to leverage value that can be brought about by data and analytics. And also, analytics obviously is not restricted to the business world, right? It has the sports industry has been a big user of analytics, right? For example, in the soccer, a lot of professional sports teams, like they're collaborating with tech companies in developing a set of software and analytics to help with training as well as the match. For example, they've been using a more data-driven approach to help their players improve their training performance, and also use data and analytics to help them come up with a better winning strategies. I didn't include the example here. A lot of NBA teams actually, like Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors, they've actually been a big user of analytics to help them develop winning strategies in the competitive games, right? So and then lastly, I want to touch briefly on the data scientist, right? So there has been, when it comes to data analytics or data scientist, a lot of misunderstanding about what data analytics or business analytics really is about. People normally would think data analytics is all about technical skills, the programming skills, quantitative, the mathematics skills. Yes, those are important, but that's not a complete picture, right? As you can see in these 3 circles here, right? So yes, it's important for a good data scientist. They need to have good computer science skills, right? Such as programming skills, whether it's on R, on Python or Java. And also it's important for a good data scientist to have a solid quantitative skills, right? Such as good mathematical statistics skills, but also, which is equally important, is the soft skills, which is a good understanding about the business domain. It's how business works, or how humans make decisions, right? So without good understanding about business domain or the psychological part of consumers or the businesses, then you will not be able to maximize, achieve the full value that can be contributed by analytics, right? And also, as you can see, because of this, right, so obviously to be a good data scientist, that requires a comprehensive set of skills and knowledges, right? Includes not only data skills but also programming skills, and it needs to be a good communicator, right? So the point here is that it is, a lot of people argue actually it is almost impossible for individual to have this comprehensive set of skills and knowledge, right? Essentially, when people talk about data scientists, okay, it actually requires an effort of a team, okay, a team that comprises people who are good with model building, okay, good with the statistics skills, also with people, comprises people who are good with programming, coding, that might be able to manipulate data, to extract data from different sources. But also equally important is that you need to have someone that have the good communication skills, that being able to communicate the findings, the insights from the technical part to business decision makers. Because oftentimes in the real world practices, a lot of decision makers, especially senior management, they don't have good technical skills, as we all would appreciate that. So if you talk to them, to take technical terms or language, you might not get them on board with what you're trying to convince them. So you need to have the soft skills, be able to communicate technical findings in a language that is understood, that can be easily understood by decision makers, so that they can make action. They can take actions according to the findings, to the insights that you generated, derived from the data by applying analytics. And so obviously, whether analytics and data presents ample opportunity, there are also challenges associated with the application of analytics by various companies or businesses, right? So this is one of the table that was proposed by one author of the textbook that I'm using for my course. So to identify a range, I think around 50 challenges, big challenges that are associated with analytics. And if you look at the top five challenges that are faced by a company in say leverage value on analytics, including the top challenges to manage data quality. We're talking about data might coming from different sources, which means data essentially might be coming in different forms. Okay. First question you might ask is how reliable are those sources, right? And second is whether this data has been accurately recorded, right? So oftentimes you may find when you are dealing with a real data set, you might find that you might have a lot of missing data in the data set. So you will need to do something in order to to make sure your data quality up to a certain standard before you can even you can perform any further analysis. But some other issues, I'm not going to go through this in detail. Other big challenges including, for example, using analytics for improved decision making. Obviously, this relates back to the skill set for a data scientist. They need to be able to communicate their findings, the technical terms, the technical findings, in a business language that can be easily understood by decision makers, so that they can make decisions, they can take action accordingly, right? So those are some of the big challenges that are faced by company before they can fully realize or achieve the value of business analytics. Then lastly, the business analytics strategy. Okay, so in order to cope with all those challenges that we talked about before, company would come up with analytics vision or analytics strategy in order to make sure they are fully realized, they can fully realize the value, the potential of analytics, right? So I don't have time to talk about this now. In the course I'm teaching, actually we're introducing two well-established approach in the industry. One's called business analytics methodology, and another method is called design thinking. We're actually using those two approach to help a company have a very clear understanding about the business strategy, the business model, okay, so that they can identify the strategic priority of the business model, okay, or the core activities that involved in the business model. Then they can start align their investment in analytics with the top priorities, with those core activities, to make sure they are generate the maximum outputs from the investments into analytics, right? And with that, I think that concludes my presentation, Introduction to Business Analytics. I hope that helped you to develop a better understanding about this kind of analytics from a broader perspective. Also gained a little in-depth understanding towards some of those key concepts involved or related to the concept analytics. And so if there's any questions, or I'm afraid to take any questions that you might have in regards to analytics, as well as I can also speak on behalf of the program offered in our school. If you have any particular question regarding the program that offered at the UNSW Business School, or in information system in technology in particular. All right, I'm going to stop sharing, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Yeah, that was a very insightful session. Audience, please write in your questions here. Dr. Jacky, the question which came in earlier, which is, what is the scope of business intelligence and digital marketing?
What's the scope for business intelligence and digital marketing? Sorry.
One of the things, business intelligence and digital marketing.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Whoever asked the question, business intelligence is more. It's, to me, it has been a concept. It has been around for quite some time. So maybe I don't know how many years people used to use this term business intelligence as to capture the information inside that might be produced or generated by applying different perform different analysis. But the business intelligence becoming, well, it's not quite a trendy term now. You might notice that the application or the mention of business intelligence has decreased over time. Now people tend to talk more about business analytics or insights rather than business intelligence. So, but essentially, I would say the essence will capture the same. It's more about, my understanding, I feel it's more about marketing purposes. People package it in different way just to make it sound more appealing, more sexy, right? When they talk about big data and machine learning, essentially some of those different techniques, the algorithms they're using are still, grounded in very traditional techniques or algorithms, such as we're talking about linear regression, logistic regression, or decision tree. Essentially, at a very fundamental level, those principles still applies. It's just how they've been packaged with the trendy terms, because people are buying these new ideas. And so that's my understanding. So I would say business intelligence, it kind of overlaps with business analytics or business insights, but really, if you do a Google search, the definition can be quite varied. But essentially, it's about, the essence is that they offer the knowledge, offer the the actionable insight to help decision maker make decisions. That's what it's exactly about, right? Then to digital marketing, I think that's, look, I'm actually coming from a marketing background. Digital marketing is related to more to, at the moment, a lot of research has been done in the context of social media, in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And one of the projects that actually I'm working at the moment, we're trying to look at customer engagement with digital platforms. We're trying to understand what motivates customers to engage with different platforms. Obviously, there is a tendency that customers tend to be less patient, so it becomes harder for a company to be able to engage with customers. When they post a message, for example, how can I make sure the message is engaging enough to the customers so that the customer can react in a positive way, right? So we're analyzing, actually, we adopt text analytics, we're analyzing the way how the message should be phrased and tone that should be used, okay, or whether there should be animation, emoji associated with a message, to maximize the engagement of potential customers. So those are the things we do. But I think in a broader view, all those concepts are interrelated to each other. It's more about over time, things evolved, the concept evolved. It's more about marketing, how people want to, make it sound more sexy. It's more trendy, so that people, tend to buy in those new concepts, So that's my understanding to share. Okay. Thanks. Sorry, I can't hear you, Romina. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I was on mute. So another question.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
addressed.
Okay.
You already presented around the profile of someone who's doing business analytics, but there was a question around what are the other skills that someone who's studying business analytics, that they are, they're successful at the job that they do. In your experience, what other
Sure, yeah, that's sure, yeah. I think that's a good question. And essentially, if you remember the three circles we're talking about, right? So I would say they're equally important. We talk about technical skills. Normally, I split that into a hard skill and soft skills. We talk about hard skill. We talk about programming skills, which we teach in our course. We are in a partnership with SAS. We have 4 courses developed in collaboration with SAS. So if the student will complete those 4 courses, they will be issued with SAS certificate for data analytical skills, which can place you in a quite a competitive position when you're going into job markets. So moving into next year, actually in T2 next year, 2021, we're going to, at PG postgraduate level, we're going to introduce new analytical programming courses, in which we'll be teaching Python and R, because realizing the increasing trend or demand in the industry for people or data scientists who have those technical programming skills or offering, we customize our offering, trying to be in line with what the workplace employees are looking for. So those technical skills are obviously very important, but also, as I mentioned before, what's equally important is your soft skills, which is your understanding about your business. Okay, your business model. Okay, the broad environment in which your business operates, right? Because without good understanding about your value proposition or value capturing, right, you wouldn't be able to understand which activities are most important, okay, matters most to your business model. Obviously, you want to align your investment in analytics with those key activities, so that you can maximize your return on investment, right? We knew every company, every organization has limited resources, so you need to be careful, you need to be cautious, mindful about where to spend those limited resources. So yeah, those are the views I can share. I would like to share. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jackie.
And
yeah, I don't think we've had. These were the broad questions that we get. Okay, we have more questions. My question is analyzing this from, if you can see on the chat, from Shivanshu Gupta. My question is analyzing data.
Yes.
Sometimes leads to data privacy concern. Right, that companies like Uber, Google, Facebook are using our data for marketing and business.
I guess we knew what they're doing. They, it's an open secret, I think. They do analyzing. We knew Facebook. We knew the analytics. We knew the Cambridge Analytics. We all knew the scandal about Cambridge Analytics, right? You knew how Donald Trump has been, using data to help him to win the U.S. presidential campaign. We knew that, and that has been proved to be a fact. But it's my suggestions are companies should be made more accountable for the way how they're going to use the data. Okay, what purpose they're using data for. Obviously, we can't stop them from gaining access to our private information, our demographic information. It's fun, but it's more about how they're going to use them. They need to be held accountable. They need to be responsible. Yeah, I think that's what matters. We can't stop them. Google, Facebook, they will have access to us, to our data, our profile. But how they're going to use them, how they're going to be managed, that's what matters, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
thank you,
my view.
Doctor. So there's another
Yeah, no
question.
problem. Okay.
There's another question. Business analytics is something which is included in both MS as well as MBA courses. So which of these courses provides better hands-on and job options after completing the course? This is from Tausif Khan. Yeah.
Pros and cons. I mean, MBA obviously costs you more, I think, and there are. To be honest, I'm not quite familiar with MBA program, because MBA is offered on a different school within our faculty. It's called AGSM, Australian Graduate School of Business, right? Whereas Master of Commerce, we call and Master of Commerce, MCOM. We do have a specialization on business analytics on the Master of Commerce, right? Basically, those we have 4 courses at the moment. Next year we got add one more into the string of analytics. So the 4 courses are offered on our school, but also our school information system, technology management. But there also will be some elective courses. If you are really into analytics, you can select it from, such as courses offered by school marketing on customer analytics, product analytics. I think they have more context-specific analytics courses offered to the master students. So there will be more analytics courses offered. As we all knew, the trends keep growing. So we have to capitalize on this, and we also want to make sure that our course offering meet the demands, the needs of our customers, which are you guys, future students, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. We have a question whether Mr. Banerjee here, A. Banerjee wants to know, request your opinion regarding an MS course in business analytics, prior experience with data analytics.
For the course, that's a good question. For the course we're teaching, we assume students come in with zero background knowledge in analytics, right? We teach you guys from scratch. But it would be good, it would be beneficial if you have some prior knowledge in analytics. Obviously, you will be, fun. It's less challenging for you to, fit into the course. And obviously, you're more likely to achieve better results by taking this course in terms of the grades that are getting out from the course, right? But as I mentioned before, the course was designed in a way that we're assuming students are coming in with zero background knowledge. So you will be taught from scratch. Okay, we'll hold you guys' hand step by step across, along the journey to make sure you're developed a competent, reasonable, decent analytic skills that would help you or enable you to land a job offer when you're entering into the job force.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have the last question for the session is that after doing postgraduate diploma in international business management, can I go in for a business analytics course after international business?
I don't see anything stops you from expanding your study from there or switch from there to business analytics. I think you will have. I'm not quite sure because I'm not a program director. But you can obviously, if you are really interested, you can always get in touch with UNSW India team to get a better understanding about whether you can switch, say, between the specializations after you have enrolled into our program. But I'm not an admin person, so I'm probably not the right person to give you the most accurate answer, right? But feel free to get in touch with our team or our admin staff. They will be more than happy to help you with that question. Right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Jacky, and thank you as well for your interaction and your questions. Special thanks to Dr. Jacky for taking the time and the effort and the patience to answer all our questions. So thank you, and great having you on our VGEI event.
Thank you.
And
you're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure. Yeah. I hope I'll see some of you in UNSW in Sydney.
So Dr. Jacky is at UNSW.
So,
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Sydney. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Have a good weekend,
We have other interesting sessions also going on, so you can go on and check out the other sessions. Thank you, everyone.